Okay, one of the questions that I get asked a lot is about getting dock height because I miss a lot of loads because my truck is not dock height. And when I first bought the truck, I knew that was going to be an issue, and it didn't matter because I bought my truck for few specific reasons, and that was one that I was willing to take that loss on as a trade-off. But I get asked this question a lot, and so the first couple of weeks, I'm calling on all these loads when I first got the truck, and they're telling me, oh, you've got to be dock height. And so I thought I was going to be smart. I said, you know what? I can go out to an auto parts store and pick up some ramps, and I could just back up there because normally on an average dock, around 6 to 9 inches shorter than that docks. Docks aren't all the exact same height, but I'm usually 6 to 9 inches short of that dock. And so I said, hey, I'll go get these ramps, and I'll just, if they say I need to be dock height, I'll just use my ramps back up to the door and I'll be golden. Well, didn't work out that way, and I'm here to tell you why it's not going to work out. There may be that one load out of 500 that you're able to use the ramps on, but for the most part, you're not going to be able to use them. They're useless. And so I finally ended up taking them off my truck. But about I'd say about a month and a half after I started, I found another guy on YouTube who had started his channel and had a truck just like mine. And of course, he's one of these guys. He's claiming he's making $10,000 a week, and he's getting dock height. But he's not going to tell you how he's getting dock height because he wants you to buy his program and hire his dispatching service, and whatever. If you guys are interested in that, I'm sure you can find his channel if you believe that. So on all the loads that I call on, one of the first things I tell them, I have to be upfront with them, because if you're not, you'll lose that agent and you'll lose money on top of it. So I tell them the dimensions of my truck, and I say I'm not dock height, and half the time they'll say got to be dock height, no way around it. And they'll tell you you cannot use ramps. A lot of the listings on load boards will say that too. No ramps, have to be dock height. So one of the big things is it's a safety issue. These ramps, most of them are, they can hold 12,000 pounds or what have you, and they're made for you to pull the truck up on and do some work underneath. They're not made for you to back your truck on and then get inside the truck, move around, load thousands of pounds of freight on there. And one of the big issues that people don't think about is when they're loading this freight. Hopefully you'll be able to see my picture here. So one of the first issue, let's start right here. The forklift is much taller than my box truck. My box truck is a little under 7 feet tall right there. The door opening is about 73 inches. No forklift is going to fit on there. And by the way, they couldn't go on there anyway because this floor is not ready for a forklift. That's a couple of main issues. So what they have to do is, if you can get dock height, they have to come out and set the pallet down on the back of your truck. You have to use your pallet jack and lift it up and move it around if it's more than one pallet. Here's where the big issue, if you've got several pallets going on there, the first pallet they put in there is 1,000 pounds. You put your pallet jack on it and you ramp it up or jack it up, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to be able to control 1,000 pounds when your back of your truck is jacked up 8 inches. And you're just going to crash into the front of your truck. You're going to either hurt yourself or hurt the product. So you can see the big safety issues right there and the big liability issues right there. But another reason is they do not want you to, most places nowadays, when you pull up, they won't even let you in the warehouse. This big building back here, they want you to back up to the dock and open your doors and back up to the dock and sit there, and somebody will come out and give you your paperwork. You can't even go inside. So if you did back up to the dock and you were they wanted to put something on back of there, you'd have no way of knowing how they're doing it. You have no way to move it, especially if it was more than one pallet. So you can see some of the issues there. So on top of that, one of the things I didn't draw on here is on the back of my truck, I have a bumper that sticks out there about, I can't remember what it is, about 8 to 10 inches. It's a step and a bumper all in one, so you can get on the back of the truck. So you'd have that bumper sticking out there, let's just say 8 inches. So just to start off with, you're going to be 8 inches from the dock when you back up there. That's not a big deal because a lot of the ramps they put down, the little ramp they can fold up is well over that length, so it's not a big deal to be that far away. But another thing you have to think about is a lot of docks have these what are called dock locks. So when a van trailer backs up there, these dock locks, when the van trailer backs up, it will clamp onto their bumper so that the trailer cannot move, and the person on the forklift knows that they can go back and forth on that trailer. The trailer's not going to move and they're not going to crash down and all that. So this sticks out there another foot and a half. So when you back up to this, you're going to be not only 8 inches away, but another at least a foot and a half away. So you can see that starting off, if they have a dock lock, you're going to be 2 feet away, and you're not going to be able to load that thing anyway, because they're not going to come out there with a forklift and try to get on the edge of that dock and put that pallet, over 2 feet in the back of your truck. It's just bad all around. But like I said, these things are made for you to pull up on and do some work underneath the truck. They're not made for you to pull up there and be moving around and loading freight and all that stuff on there. So 99% of the shippers and agents are going to tell you, no, you can't use the ramps because of liability, safety issues, and just another issue is that they just won't work. You can't get close enough in some cases. So I get asked that question a lot, and I just say, hey, ramps won't work. Most of the shippers and receivers won't let you use them, so just forget about it. It's my basic suggestion. I took them off my truck because on my operation, space is at a premium, and those ramps are about 3 or 3.5 feet long. They don't weigh a whole lot, but they do take up space and weight. So I just took them off there. I've never had, over 6 months, I've never had the single opportunity to use them. I've never found one shipper or agent that would let me use them. There could, down the road, there could be that one single agent that would let me use them. But after, you have to move them around and find a place for them. Every time you load several pallets up, is it worth it? That's up to you. So ramps, not worth it. Okay, another question that I get asked a lot, and it brings up a lot of other subjects, but they say, hey, I got a truck just like yours. Do I have to have an ELD, or do I have to stop at weigh stations? If you look inside the door at the plate, it'll tell you what the GVWR is. And if you're over 10,000 pounds, you have to have an ELD, an electronic logging device, and you have to stop at almost all weigh stations, not all of them. There are a few of them around the country that when you're pulling up to them, they'll say only trucks over 8 tons, or they'll have some specific weight limit. But most of the places you have to stop at the weigh stations. The ELD, to me, it's not a big deal. I've been using them for years, so I'm used to it. But these are two of the main reasons. These two little things right here are why most people are looking for a cargo van that's under that 10,000 pound mark. Now, when you do that, um, you're limiting the amount of freight you can get on your van, and you're limiting, in not only in size but in weight, and that usually equates to expediting. I think I spelled that right. And expediting is a whole other animal from what I do, and I've explained that before. But if you don't know the difference between what I do and expediting, I wake up every morning, early in the morning. I drive throughout the day, and I have a limited amount of time I can work because of this electronic logging device. But I rarely come up against that anyway. Expediting is a whole other animal. When you pick up uh, a package at point one, they want you to have it at point two ASAP. And that means that you might have to drive 20 hours straight. You might have to drive all night. It doesn't matter. Normally, expediting means you have to get it there as soon as humanly possible, and that you can't take a sleep break for the most part. If you do, it's just going to be an hour. This is something that I would not enjoy. Some people don't care; they prefer that, but I like the way I do it. Even though I have to, go through this crap, I don't consider it a big deal. I have, you know, my stuff ship shape, so I'm never too much worried about that. But I'll talk about that real quick. Um, get rid of this expediting stuff. So over the past 6 months, when you're doing box truck or especially hot shot, and I happen to be doing both at the same time. When you're doing one of these two things, the DOT is going to be looking at you like no other truck on the road. And the reason is you have so many outlaws out there. And you guys, like me probably, I see them every day, multiple times a day, especially in hot shots where people, they have a truck and they have a trailer and they say, hey, yeah, I'm going to go into business. And they know they're doing it illegally, but they're finding out where all the way stations are. They're getting by it. In the first place, it's hard to do because most carriers want you to have a certain amount of insurance and meet certain requirements. But a lot of them can do it because there's a lot of apps coming out where you can pick things up on your truck. But they know they're doing it illegally, running across state lines and all this. So DOT knows that too, and especially like a truck like mine. You have this moving van, and people buy them, and they're able to move their freight in them. But what they do is they know they're over 10,000 pounds, but they refuse to follow the rules, this ELD, and they refuse to follow way stations. And what I've seen is a lot of these guys are putting their own stickers on the bottom of the door that says under 9,900 pounds. And I guess they're getting away with it. A lot of them, some of them are actually true. I'm not saying that they're all outlaws, but I've seen a lot of outlaws who are just doing everything. They're working harder, trying to circumvent all the rules. And when they get caught, it's really not worth it. But what they're doing is they're making things harder on everybody else. So all the DOT officers and inspection stations know that there are so many outlaws out there trying to do hot shot and box truck. And I see these guys every single day, especially in the cargo van like I've got. It's a small box truck. It's over 10,000 pounds. I see these guys every day with nothing written on the side of it, knowing that they're breaking the law. I've even talked to a few of them, and they always do like this. Oh, really? Am I supposed to have ELD? I didn't know that. And I can tell they're full of BS. But so the DOT officers know there's so many people out there trying to break the law just to make a buck on the side. So what do? They target all of us. And over the past 6 months, I've had four full inspections. I've had I think it was 5 level 2 inspections, and I can't even tell you, maybe 30 times that they've made me park to bring in my paperwork to check and see if everything was on the up and up. All of this is because of outlaws, people that work harder to, circumvent the rules than if they would just do everything right the first time. Nice guys. I've talked to a lot of them, and a few of them are probably watching my channel right now because I try to give them some pointers here and there, and I realize they don't want the pointers; they want to be outlaws. But so the last inspection, a full inspection that I had was a couple of months ago, and I was doing hot shot, but I was using my half-ton truck, not my box truck. And guy pulled me in, he was inspecting me, and I said, man, this is happening. I'm pulling into these weigh stations every single day, multiple times a day. You guys are pulling me off to the side. I'm losing time, I'm losing money. And this guy was a nice guy. Ordinarily, I wouldn't talk to inspection guys like this. I would just, keep my mouth shut and let them do their job. But I said, what can I do about this? And he pretty much went over the same thing I'm telling you here. But he said, I can help you out. And he goes in his office and he comes back out with 2 yellow stickers, which I've gotten these before. I don't know why they don't give them out every single time they do a full inspection. But the two, he put a sticker on my truck, a sticker on my trailer. And basically, it's when you pull through the station and they see the yellow stickers, I guess it depends on what year. Maybe the stickers are different colors. I don't know. But they see the stickers and they know, hey, that guy got inspected. He got 100, let him go. I've been inspected, like I said, 4 full inspections and 5. So 9 times I've been inspected, and I've never gotten one defect. And finally, the last guy says, I'll give you the sticker, which ran out in the end of last year. So I'm on the target again. So I don't know if you can request those stickers. I don't know how that works, but I've had them 2 times on my big truck, and they didn't give them to me every time they got inspected. I've never had, knock on wood, a violation of any type that I can remember when I've gotten inspected, but I've only gotten those stickers a few times. So if you're out there and you're thinking about doing this, don't do it illegally. It's much easier just to follow the rules and do it right, and it keeps us all safe, and we don't all have to get inspected every single week we're out there. Okay, let's try to get this last question out of the way. There's another question I get asked a lot, and it comes in many different forms, but and I see lots of comments on boards about this is, can you make money if I buy this specific band, or can you make money right now in the industry? And it's a very difficult question to ask because it has a lot to do with you and how you do things. Right now, you really have to hustle, and the big profits aren't there right now. No matter what your political leanings are, if you're Democrat, Republican, conservative, whatever, a lot of what we're going through right now has to do with Biden in his first week in office, when he shut down pipelines, he shut down drilling, and he tried to shut down oil companies, and it just caused fuel prices to go skyrocketing, and it goes downhill from there. When it costs more to buy a gallon of fuel, it's going to cost more to ship a product. They're going to charge more for the product. People are going to stop buying less because they don't make as much as they'll get their raise next year. Cost of living increase will come next year, but guess what? You're trying to pay for stuff now. So it's just a snowball, and right now it's rolling downhill. Normally, January is a time where big companies are hiding lots of inventory, and they're putting stuff in vans and parking them somewhere so they're not counted on their tax rolls. And it's a slow time of year, January and February. And all of us are just waiting for March and April, when people start building houses again, and people get their raises, they get their income tax returns and all that stuff, and people start spending money again. But right now, it's the worst freight economy I've ever seen, due to a lot of factors. But the pandemic is part of that too. So can you make money right now? Yes, you can make money. It is not easy. you really, a lot of factors go into it. How much you're going to hustle, how much experience do you have, what kind of equipment do you have, are you going to do things the right way? And so in my operation, I have a lot of limitations because my truck's not dock height. They don't have a lift gate. You know, a lot of different things. Everybody's going to have some type of limitation, and there's so many specialties to go into. But um, you know, doing things the right way to start off with. There are too many outlaws out here that think they can buy a truck or a trailer and just go into business. And number one, they don't understand that you're not going to get any real good business doing it that way, because people want to see that you're doing things legally, that you have a certificate of insurance with the right amount of liability on there, that you have your own authority, that you're approved by the government, that you've gone through the process to haul freight on intrastate or interstate. And so if you start off and you're not doing things the right way, you're really going to limit yourself as to what kind of freight you can haul. But I still get a lot of super truckers on my channel that are saying, you know, oh, I'd never haul freight for under this amount. And that's an easy thing to say. That's an easy thing for anybody to say when times are good. There was a time several years ago where I said, hey, I'll never take anything under $3 a mile. And I could say that all day, every day, because that was that particular moment in time. And that's what I knew. First thing you got to know is how much your operation is going to cost, what your overhead is. And if you jump off too quick and you go and buy an expensive truck, and you know, that combined with how much your insurance is and how much you need to make to pay your bills, all those things go together. But you know, you need to know your MPG, your insurance, truck payment. And what I normally like to do is add all those up and put them in a 2,500 mile week. 2,500 miles is about average if you're going to be on the road. And find out how much your operation costs per mile. Mine's in I haven't done it in a while because fuel prices have come down a little bit and then they've gone back up. So mine, I think it was around 35 cents a mile. Like I said, it's been a while. It might not even be close to that now. So for my operation, I'm 35 cents a mile. And, you know, like I said, I have these guys on here saying, oh, I'd never take a load for less 75 cents a mile when they see me talking about some of my rates. So let's talk about 75 cents a mile. I also see some of the guys on these forums saying, oh, you can't, I bought this truck and don't buy this because you'll never make any money. You can only make $1 a mile. And I've proved on my last video, you can make very good money at $1 per mile, depending on how you do your operation. But so 75 cents. I see a load. Load number one is 75 cents a mile. It's one pallet and it weighs 150 pounds. Now, I wouldn't call, you know, if this was the only, let's say it's going from Houston to Denver. If I saw this load in the load board right away, I wouldn't be interested in it, but I'd have it in my mind because Denver is one of the places I like to drive, and I do things differently than a lot of people. I like to drive where I like to drive, and the money isn't going to Denver or any place in the West from Texas. The money is over on the east side of the Mississippi for the most part. But I don't like driving over there, so this is the way I do it. So I see this load for 75 cents a mile. I look at it and I pass it by. Somebody in a Sprinter van could pick this up and make a very good living off 75 cents a mile. Because one of the reasons is because they're not limited by an ELD. They've got a smaller cargo area, so they can only fit maybe a couple of pallets, maybe one pallet. So this is a good load for somebody in a Sprinter van. So if you see something like this, you can't think about it too long. But what I like to do is I look at the load boards, and I've got this lane right here in my mind. So I find load number 2. Now, right now, what I normally like to do is the first load that I find, I want that one to make me a good profit. I want that to be $1 or more. And it's getting more and more difficult right now. But so I find this other load that's paying, let's say it's paying $1.10 a mile, and it's going Houston to Denver. It's going to the same lane. And so immediately I start thinking about these two loads together, and with $1.85 a mile, those both added together, that's a very good payday, and that gets me in the range. Talking about this Houston to Denver lane, if you're trying to just go up there and come back, if you're doing Denver, if you're looking for something Denver back to Texas, you're going to have lots of trouble finding something, first of all, in that lane. But secondly, there's so many trucks coming out of Denver and so little freight that you're probably going to get about 30 to 40 cents a mile on anything coming back, if you get anything. But when you get up in here and your operation only costs 35 cents a mile and you made $1.85 a mile going up there, then you're in the range where you don't have to worry so much about taking this cheap freight coming back. You can deadhead 400 or 500 miles somewhere else, find a load going to where you want for a rate you want. So, if I get up close to the $2 a mile going to Denver, I know immediately that I don't really have to worry about getting anything coming back. And if I do get something coming back, it's just a bonus. So Super Trucker says they're not going to take anything for under $2 a mile. So I've got two loads paying $1.85. And remember, I've got a box truck and I'm carrying a little short 20-foot flatbed trailer. So then I find load number 3 paying $1.75 a mile for a flatbed hotshot going to Cheyenne, which is right in line with going to Denver. So in 3 days, I would have a very good payday and not spending very much on fuel at all, and also not having to worry about finding a load to come back out of this area. So Super Trucker has passed this up, and he's waiting on his $3 a mile going up to the Northeast, where he's going to have to pay tolls and higher gas prices and sit in traffic. And meanwhile, if you do things right, you can do things your way. You might not make as much money at the end of the week, but you don't have as many gray hairs as Super Trucker. So it's just the way that I think about things. And when I get these guys that make these comments saying, you're stupid, I wouldn't take under $3 a mile, first of all, most of the time I just delete them when people start out like that. But you have to, don't worry about what anybody else is saying. If your operation costs 20 cents a mile and you can make a profit picking up a load at 50 cents a mile, and that's all there is, you better jump on it and get it while you can, because right now there's not much negotiating going on. With the load counts right now, there's not very many loads. And if somebody puts something out there with a rate on it, and if you don't call them if it's a decent rate already, anything over $1, if you don't call them within the first few seconds, chances are that load's going to be gone. The first caller who calls in is going to take it. But on top of that, I still try to negotiate a little bit. And so when I call in, I'll say, hey, can you go an extra $100 on this? About 80% of the time I say, no, this is all I can get out of it. Whether they're telling the truth or not, it doesn't matter. They're going to get somebody to take it for that rate. So you either take it and make money, and depending on your overhead, or somebody else is going to get it. So that's the hustle right now. We're not in those times where you can say, I'm not going to take anything less than $2 a mile, because you will be sitting, and at the end of the week you make $500. But guess what? You didn't compromise your principles. You made over $2 a mile. It just doesn't work out like that in times like these.